Okay, so we're going to do the landscape painting now, okay? And I've got my canvas set up horizontally. I've got my image. The canvas that I'm working on is, I got this at Blick, so you can see it's 18 by 36, so it's a long vertical one. Gallery profile, which means it's pretty thick. And you can see that in the back, you've got staples. It's got a nice crossbar. So this is a good canvas to use. Now, the ratio of my image isn't this narrow, okay? So that means I had to do a thumbnail sketch where I would fix the ratio. So in my sketchbook, I did that. I made it so it's long and narrow. So this is the same proportion as this, where that is not. You don't have to do this if your canvas is the same proportion as your image, okay? But buying a canvas at the store, you're limited as to what type of proportion you can have. So they're mostly going to be what I call 0.75 rectangle, which means, you're like the 18 by 24 paper is that proportion, or it's a square, or it's long and narrow. Those are your choices, okay? So if you want something, if I tried to match this, I would have to stretch this myself, okay, this ratio. So the palette I'm using, I've got set up already, and I'm going to put these on the canvas so you can see what they look like. But I've got my red and green because we're going to be doing complementary colors. So your choices are complementary colors or monochromatic tones, of one hue plus black and white. So here you can see I only have white. I don't have any black on the palette. I have, can you use black? We'll see, okay? I have red, I have green, okay? The green I made with ultramarine blue and the cadmium yellow light, and the red is cadmium red light, and it's cooled down a little bit with magenta, okay? And then I've got some neutrals made up. I've got a warm neutral, so more red by mixing these two, and then a cooler neutral there. And then the cooler neutral, I then added the white to make a gray. So you're going to see what those look like. So there's the red. And there's the warmer neutral. There's the green, came down a little too much. So the green, and the cooler neutral, and then the gray. So I'm looking at my line drawing, and this is, I know what you're thinking, having done the tonal painting, the underpainting before, that this looks like it might be an umber or burnt sienna. It is not. Really anything could be used here. It doesn't need to be necessarily a brown. I'm using a number 10 bristle round. As I'm working, I'm kind of looking at both of these things. The main thing you got to worry about when we're doing this is that you don't make things too big that are in the background, okay? So that's a common mistake. And then when you do that, if you make the things that are in the background too large, then you will lose the illusion of space, and we don't want to lose the illusion of space, obviously, because that's what this is about, right? Okay, I think that's enough. I've got that down. Probably should have done that first. So now I'm going to just block in tones, okay, using the various colors that I've laid out here. And I don't have to be real accurate with this. So it's the beginning stages. And so we're going to go from general to specific. And that means I'm not going to have all the detail of this plant, okay, to begin with. I could lay out some of it if I want to, but it's what I do is going to probably get, you know, moved around a little bit. So what I'm thinking about, or what I want, is like solid areas, solid shapes, okay? No detail. So everything is going to be, in fact, I don't really have brushes that are as big as I might be using on a canvas this size to block in some of this stuff, but you know, we'll make do with what we have, okay? So you can see I'm keeping the paint, you know, relatively thin. As I'm saying this, I'm thinking one of the things that makes it real important in selecting an image, this object in the foreground. This is the thing that, so for some reason, is a mystery to students, okay? That having something in the foreground, I mean, you think, well, anything you have is going to have a foreground, right? But you know, this by itself, yes, this is in the foreground, but it would not be that interesting. So you have to have an object that's in the foreground. If you've got something that's really close to you, it helps to give you space. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Okay. And obviously, this is going to be more green since we're going to have green available to us. But at the beginning stages, like I said, not all that important. Now I'm just scrubbing this in. This is thin with medium. And this is still that cooler neutral, which I don't have enough of. I think that painting like this is a lot more fun than having the thing drawn out for you in advance and having to be, you know, real careful about the image. Needs more of that. I don't need that shot right now. And remember what we talked about before. Maybe we haven't talked about it yet. So let's talk about it. We have talked about it. So we have fat over lean, right? And so fat over lean has to do with oil content. So this medium I'm using is like the solvent layer medium that we did for the first painting. Okay, apparently we had the camera shut off for a little while. So what I've done, so you can see the thin areas so far blocked in. Okay, that's what this is called, blocking in. So we have these major areas now of value. And right now I'm just putting in, I put down a neutral here, a warmer neutral that's really thin, and then the more saturated color toward the top, because when you're dealing with the sky, the part that's closer to you is the part that's higher. The sky turns around towards you. The sky that's furthest away from you is what's close to the horizon. Okay, so therefore I'm putting just pure white on top of that thin tone I put down. So we're assuming that the sky is going to be pink. I mean, I could have made it a gray, I suppose. And I might still, but this is just to see how this is going to work. And blending these things together. And there's nothing on this brush. This is just the blending, dry blending brush. So all my paint is really thin. I think you can even see that in the video. And now I'm just trying to get everything covered. So I don't want to have these white areas showing through. But I want to do it in the thinnest way possible. Okay, so if you can get this much done on the first day, then that is going to be what you need to get done, okay? Now you can see that places like this, where the color is mixing and getting a little dirty, that's because we're working wet into wet, so we have all these tones here on top of each other. As we go on top of this layer, when it's dry, we'll be able to control the saturation level of the color more, okay? We won't have to paint over probably everything, okay? But we'll be able to get certainly a lot more detail. So this is just very blocked in, just the very basic shapes of things. The tones, you can start to see we're getting an illusion of space happening because where we have this, you know, it's darker back here, the contrast is getting less as we go back. The saturation of the color is getting less as we go back. So those are the things that we need to have happen. This is still fairly grayed, but it looks really saturated compared to everything else because everything else is so grayed down or so tonal. But this will be, this is more of a yellow-green, so we're not going to be able to do that, but we can make it, so that's kind of what you see in here. You're seeing a lighter green, but not a yellow-green. So if we were using the actual colors, then that's what we would be doing, but we're not doing that, so we're just using the tones right now. So you can see this is a good place to stop so that you can then pick up next time and we can start to work on some of the textures in here and some of the plants. One of the things that people always get really worried about is the foliage. You have to look at the shapes of the shadows on things, okay? And as we get more specific, we'll be doing that. But we kind of have that blocked in right now. But it'll get more specific for the next painting day. But this is enough to get done for that first session, okay? Okay, that's on tape.